Alright guys, how's it going? Alright, I think the time has come to make a very simple video for you guys. How to all-wheel drive swap your RSX. Alright, I've been getting a lot of people hitting me up on Instagram, YouTube, and they've been asking is, well, how do you all-wheel drive swap your RSX? And even though I'm making these videos, they still ask the questions. And I mean, I get it, you guys basically want a parts list. So, alright, this is where I'm at with the RSX. The last video you saw with the rear diff is up, everything's mounted. I used a lot of references from other builds for the location where I was going to put the rear diff. I mounted it slightly higher than everyone else, but yet still the axles had a lot of angle. So, by the way, before we get into the main video, I'm just explaining the last video. So I made a new mount. So this is the new mount. It's only tack welded together. Nothing crazy. The new mount will be sitting, will sit about 1 to 2 inches higher than the other mount, and that should level out the axle issue that I was having. Alright, so now to the main video. I'm gonna use the light to help with all this today so you guys can see, because it's kind of dark in my garage. Alright, so everyone asks, what are the main parts you need to do an all-wheel drive RSX? This will also work for an EM2, by the way. Alright, I'm not sure anything about, like, you know, the newer Civic SIs and all that. I'm not really sure how it works. Alright, so we'll start from the front of the car and work our way back. That's the way I'm going to explain the video. Alright, so before I continue, in order to do the swap, you have to know how to do custom fabrication. I had to learn how to weld. Okay, luckily I had some friends showed me the way, and I learned how to do some basic welding to be able to do this. All right, so now that I got that out of the way, the first thing you need is an all-wheel drive transmission. What cars can you get this from? We're looking at the Honda Element and Honda CR-V. I'm using it from the year 2003, guys. All right, so this is a 2003 Honda Element transmission. It's a 5-speed transmission, and you'll as well need the matching transfer case. Okay, so that's the transmission you need. Anything K-series, this all-wheel drive should work no problem. All right, again, you will also need an Element or CR-V front subframe. Okay, so this is the RSX subframe, and this is the all-wheel drive Element subframe. Sorry, I have a lot of stuff in the way. The garage is a mess right now. Been trying to work on this car, so it's just a mess everywhere. So you do need an Element / CR-V subframe, same year. Match the years, guys. Try to match the years. It makes things a little easier. All right. The reason is because of this right here, the rear mount. So let me get the light. The rear mount is different, and if you use an RSX subframe, you're not going to have any mounting points in the rear. So I don't know if you guys know how the rear looks. There it is down there. This is how the rear looks. Not only that, it gives way for the dry shaft. Okay, you can't do enough. I mean, you can modify it in RSX subframe. You can do it, but it's easier to just get the subframe. This is what everyone does, and this is what I'm doing as well. So you need an all-wheel drive subframe. Everything else, the control arms, all that will line up. You cannot use an RSX sway bar. Okay, sorry if I'm talking a little weird. I just want to make sure you guys understand, and I'm trying to be as clear as possible. You cannot use an RSX sway bar. Okay, I'm not sure what sway bars you can use, and I'm not planning to test it. So hopefully that information comes out in the future, but I don't have that information for you guys. Okay, so a little bit more on the front end. The front mount for an RSX and the side mount, the transmission mount, will work completely fine, and the motor mount on this side will work fine. So all your mounting points are completely fine except for the rear. That's why you need the subframe for the rear. Okay, they do not sell an aftermarket mount from my knowledge, so you have to do something with that mount, guys. All right, that's just a stock mount you see there. I'm going to fill it with polyurethane to make it harder, and that's the way I'm going to go about doing things. All right, another thing, in order to make this setup work, you have to notch the chassis in that corner. You have to notch it. Just take it with a hammer, and that's more than enough. Okay, guys? So that's basically everything you need to know for the front end. to make the transmission fit in here and sit in here. Okay, guys? It's very simple. And again, if you have any questions, you guys can just DM me. But I'm trying to make this as easy and simple for you guys. All right, we're gonna move on to inside the cabin. Give me 1 second. Alrighty. So here we go. We have the cabin. All right, this is when fabrication needs are needed. You need to cut a hole. Okay, it's very easy. All you have to do is cut across the tunnel. I cut a little bit too much. You don't need to cut that far. I'm not going to give you guys measurements because I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically you're going to measure the width of the top tunnel and you're going to go all the way down at that same measurement and you're going to go up about 4 inches or so, okay? There's going to be 2 plates in the inside that you have to cut out, one in the rear, one in the front. And you will also need to fabricate. I did do that, but I have to do it again because I didn't do it right. You have to fabricate a hub bearing carrier, okay? You got to fabricate the carrier for that, for the drive shaft. Oops, sorry about that. All right. And if you know, like, if you've been fabricating, you should be able to adapt your RSX e-brake if you go down the route I went in the rear. So that's all you have to really do for the inside of the car. Okay. You're gonna cut a hole, leave the hole there until the whole all-wheel drive system is up, and then you can patch it up, and you know, you make your templates for all this. Okay. This is probably the easiest part of the whole build, is right here. All right. And now we're moving on to the rear of how to all-wheel drive swap your RSX. So I'm doing this slightly different than most people. Okay. So I am using stock RSX trailing arms, and I'm going to be using aftermarket RSX lower control arms. I used to have them, but I took them off. I sold them because I was parting out the car, so I put the stock ones on. But I'm going to use RSX trailing arms. From here, I'm using Element spindles that are slightly modified. You could watch one of my earlier videos. I go into depth how to modify the spindle, but you do have to slightly modify them to work with the RSX trailing arms. It's very simple. Don't be scared, guys. It's a very simple modification. All right, so here's the thing. Now, if you want to keep the RSX e-brake, you have to use the RSX brake caliper. In order to do this, all you need is a CRV Element brake caliper bracket, and then you'll be fine. There might be some shaving in the rear that you have to do to make things sit perfectly fine. You'll see where it hits, where it rubs when you try to install it. I have it installed without shaving it, and it works. But I am gonna shave it down a little. You know, like if you guys do this, you guys will see. I'm not gonna get on the floor and get dirty right now. But it's very simple. Use a Dremel tool and you just shave down to just create a little bit of clearance. That way the caliper can move back and forth. Because the e-brake bracket is really, it's so close to some part of the the spindle. All right, and then so you need CRV, like I said, CRV / Element brake caliper brackets, and I'm using, this is the bracket right here, and then I'm using RSX calipers, and then RSX rotors will not work. You will gut everything behind the e-brake, you know, the drum, everything in the drum part. You gut it out, and then you just use your Element or CRV rotor and all that. As you can see, let me get some lighting in here. As you can see, good contact patch on the brake pads, nothing hangs off, it works. Okay, guys, very simple. And then I am using a not stock, but I'm using the RSX camber arms up here, and RSX coilover. Okay, and then everything else is mounting. I don't have the diff up there right now, but you have to mount the diff. The lowest part of the diff has to be in line with that rear inner lower control arm bolt. If not, you will have extreme axle angle, and axles go through there. You want this axle to be as straight as possible, okay, guys? All right, so that's pretty much everything you need to know to go all-wheel drive, other than one last thing. As you guys can see, there is a hole. Go straight to the floor. I have no gas tank, okay? you cannot use the stock RSX gas tank. You must use a fuel cell. This will be a future video, and I will show you guys how I did my fuel setup. I have a return fuel system, okay, using the stock feed. I'm just using an adapter, and then I'm making my own return line, and I will go into depth on how to make this. Right now, this is just mocked up of where I wanted to sit. It's not done yet, but you must use a fuel cell. All right, guys? So that's it, guys. That is how simple. Well, sorry, guys. Putting some light. That's how simple it is to all-wheel drive swap your RSX, okay? This is basically an 11-minute video, and in 11 minutes, I was able to explain from the front, across the car, all the way to the rear, what's needed to make this car all-wheel drive in every area. Okay, guys, it's super simple. It's very easy. Oh yeah, and by the way, there's one part that I did miss. For the axles, you must use element axles. Short. You want the short ones on both ends. All right. Don't use the long axles because the RSX is not as wide as the Element. It's slightly more narrow, so you can't use a short and long, and you definitely don't want to use a long and long axle. So you have to use two short ones. All right. And for the diff, like I said, you're just basically matching it with your transmission transfer case. For me, I'm using 2003 Element, so I have, well, actually, I'm not using the Element rear diff. I'm using a CRV right here. CRV rear diff, actually from a newer one. I think this is it might be an 06, but I'm not. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely a newer CRV. It's like the dual pump, whatever inside. I'm not really sure. I don't know anything about rear LSDs. I've always been in the Honda game. I'm not really sure about all this. I'm still learning. But a lot of people, you can just use a CRV from any year. It's fine. That's what I'm using. Some people like getting the older stuff from the wagon, but that stuff is extremely rare, extremely expensive. I would not go down that route. I would just go with the CRV stuff. Just upgrade it. They sell upgraded internals for all this stuff, and it can be very strong. It will hold up to a lot of power. You shouldn't have a problem. I don't see the point of getting the wagon rear diff, spending so much money on that stuff. By the way, I know this looks ugly. This was just a mock-up so I can make a bench to make the real one, but I have to make a new mock-up for the new location, so this is completely useless. Ignore that. I know it's ugly. That wasn't the final one. So yep, this is what it is. Everything you need to know how to all-wheel drive swap your RSX, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any more questions, just hit me up. Maybe in the future I'll mass produce. Not mass produce, but I'll make brackets for people. If you don't know how to weld and you don't want to pay a shop to do that much welding and just have them weld the plate in, then that'll save you some pennies. But I don't know. I might sell them. I might not. This is version 2. Version 1 is already welded to the car. I got to cut it off and redo it. I was a dumbass. I should have just tacked it in, but I was trusting other people's work, and I should have not been doing that. I should have honestly just not went by other people's builds and just do everything on my own, all the measuring on my own, and that was a mistake on my end, but it's okay. Hopefully I'm shedding some light into this whole all-wheel drive RSX stuff. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Peace.